Oh, I love how illustrative Aparna's answer is. Mountains, valleys, rivers, oceans. Very, very evocative. And thank you, Salvi. Personal journey, infinite, multiple distances. Ooh, that is beautiful. I will definitely be stealing that as a description and precursor to this workshop in the future. This is great. It sounds like we're on a pretty similar page. Look, before I kind of go into the actual topic itself, I think just some observations from what I'm seeing here. Right? It's a lot about like landscapes. It's also a lot about, what happens internally and in relation to others. And it also seems like people are picking up on the fact that it might be about maps. So maybe a bit of context, as an art teacher, I used to kind of share a staff room together with the other humanities teachers. So I can say for personal experience that geography teachers are actually quite stereotypically into maps. And that is actually the topic that we're talking about. So I would love to invite everyone to geek out a little bit about maps with me over the next few minutes before we get into the hero activity. So I think everyone knows what maps are, right? But also I wanted to point out that we're actually quite used to maps that are extremely accurate. Because right now, if you take out your phone on Google Maps, you will find things that are so accurate, it can tell you, what's the distance between where you are and where you want to get to. But I also did want to point out that maps were not always quite as accurate. So this particular map that you're seeing on the screen is from Ptolemy. And it's actually quite a historical map. It's the first map that attempts to make use of longitudinal and latitudinal lines to show what the world is truly like. But I also do question whether this is what the world is truly like, because they do need to be updated. So for example, for Ptolemy's map, you can see quite a lot of focus on Africa. I'm going to try out the laser pointer tool. So if you see, this actually quite well defined around this specific area, and not quite so the rest of it. And that's only because Ptolemy has not really explored the rest of the world at this point, which is why one particular piece of the map is more well defined by others. So from this, we already know that maps can somewhat be pretty inaccurate. And then we kind of move into maps that, are no longer trying to represent the world as we see it, but maybe tell us more information about the world. So maps can actually be quite abstract and represent ideas, not just places. So this particular map is pretty old, coming up to about 200 years, right? It actually attempts to depict human history from the point of creation till today. And what it uses is bodies of water as a metaphor. So what you will see here is that the person who's created it has actually tried to use rivers flowing into each other as an indicator of how civilizations develop. So in here we see kind of water as a metaphor for life. I wanted to show you another one, and kind of my one of my personal favorites from this, which is actually a map that is used to illustrate matrimony, marriage, love, relationships. And it actually uses the analogy of land and sea to show this, right? How romantic relationships evolve over time. Here you can see a few things. You can see Honeymoon Island, for example. You can see Cape of Henpeck, which makes me really wonder about the state of this person's love and marriage. You can see the Owls of Little Blessings. And as someone who's just about to celebrate their 10-year anniversary with their partner, I can vouch that this map is not entirely true, but it could well be also for different types of relationships. But nonetheless, it's a particularly resonant map. As I look at it, I'm also kind of thinking about, what was my own experience like of matrimony. So I first encountered the concept of personal geographies as an artist, and sometimes in the context of art and creativity can be a really helpful tool. Um, but also at the same time, I've also discovered more recently that they can be extremely useful tools for business purposes as well. So this particular map is created by a studio called Studio Kessler, and they actually use the same technique to show what industries can look like and how things interconnect to each other. So Studio Kessler in this case has actually created a map to show the learning and development landscape. So you can see here little features such as the land of blind faith. I don't know for those of you guys in L&D whether that is particularly resonant. Learning Lake, the Wandering Moor. elation volcano. So they actually use this as a technique with their clients to actually develop a visual model for what abstract industries can sometimes feel like. So why am I so fascinated with maps, right? I've shown you quite a few. I've obviously geeked out about it with you guys. The reason why I think mapping as a tool for looking at personal geographies is very interesting is because once again, it's about contrasts. So this is a quote from Julia Cameron. Fun fact for everyone, she was actually married for 1 year to Martin Scorsese, the filmmaker. So, fun fact. But this particular quote goes, as you explore your inner world, your outer world will come more sharply into focus. And as you face your imagined barriers, you will encounter real ones as well. And I think, what like it comes back to why do we explore, right? Like maps are a way of exploration, whether it's going to a new place and hopping on Google Maps or looking back at the world and the way people see the world. And I think we explore in order to connect these extremes. We want to connect the inside to the outside. We want to connect the highs and the lows. We want to connect the real and the imagined. And in today's exercise, I actually invite you guys to go on this journey of connecting extremes with me through the form of mapping. So we're gonna actually start with an individual activity before we go into breakout rooms to share this with everyone. So I hope that everyone's comfortable, at least maybe switching on your videos during the breakout room segment so that you can be with your partner and kind of show them what you've created. Or at the very least, be comfortable unmuting yourself to explain what the map's gonna look like to them. But here's the brief. I'm gonna give everyone I'm gonna give us 7 minutes in total. Not sure why I can't reset the timer here, but we can make do. So the brief goes, create a visual map of your inner world, pick up your drawing materials and the paper that you had picked up earlier. And I would like you to think about, using the blank space on your piece of paper as a way to illustrate your personal geography. So some questions and prompts here for everyone to consider is, what were some of the life-changing moments that defined you on your personal journey? What feels like water, right? What feels like a body of water, and what feels like land? Maybe that's something that's, a little bit more permanent. What are the boundaries between the two? And what was your learning journey like across everything? Um, Later on, you'll be sharing these personal maps in your breakout rooms. Shirin, I would love for some help to set a timer
Yeah.
for let's do 7 minutes for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will play a little bit of music. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, then let's begin.
Okay, and time is up.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I hope that you had fun creating your map. And the next phase of it is actually going to bring us into breakout rooms with each other. And you're going to have the chance to actually share your map with the other person. So for breakout rooms, if you're facing any issues, I believe that there will be a button at the bottom where you can ask for help. And once you do, I'll come across to your breakout room. But what I would love for everyone to do is actually, to walk your partner through your personal map as though you're like a tour guide in a foreign land. Point out features of your map. And I also want to acknowledge that the map is not the terrain, right? The map is just a representation of who you are and how you see your journey at this point. But do kind of start picking out, what it is about your map that might be individual to you. Before I send everyone into your breakout rooms, do you have any questions? Cool. Then I am going to open up the rooms right now and have fun. Hi everyone, see some smiling faces. I've also sat in and kind of been a very inconspicuous fly on the wall for some of your discussions. Would love to maybe hear a little bit about what went on in some of your rooms. Maybe Peter, if I could hear from you, what were some of the things that stood out about the discussion in your room? What did you realize about the other maps or maybe about yourself?
Oh, put me on the spot, given I was only half listening. Um, uh, yes, I didn't draw anything myself, but sort of described it. But he's one of the sorry, I'm bad with names. I've got a name already, but it was this conversation around the meaning that we associate with water versus land, and what does that mean? And yeah, one of those moments for us where we might be taking, for some, the land might be representing a more safe resting space and that sort of thing, versus others that are more, that water is about the journey and the being within that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So maybe a kind of connection of land to some more like permanent structures, and then, water to something that might be a bit more fluid, a bit more like journey-like. You know what? Is it Pei Z? I don't know if I'm getting your name right.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's 佩慈.
Pei Z.
Call me Pei.
Pei, it's so lovely to kind of see this exchange going on in the comments. Share with us more about what you love about Lani's map.
She draw like a island. Yeah, she showed it on the camera. Yeah, it's like a different islands, and from where she start and like explore the other island. What was that? And there are some like unexplored islands out there, and where she want to like go towards the island. Yeah, I really like the map, the how she draw it.
That's really beautiful. Yeah. Um, Lani, what about Pei? Like, what do you get out of this conversation and the breakout room that you guys shared?
Yeah, no, I was just telling Pei that I want to connect with her more. I just need to find a way to connect with her because I would love to continue the conversation I had with her. Pei's map was really very empowering. I was actually very moved by the way she personified her state of mind as a crystal. So I think the blur effect is kind of affecting the view there, but right in the middle of her map is her state of mind, which is a crystal, and everything else, like all the outside of it are different factors and forces that are happening in her life that's affecting her synergy. So she went through quite a bit of a tough spot this year. And at the end of it all, she's not letting that affect her her energy. And then she's looking forward to, having a better one next year or a better days ahead. Yeah, so that was really nice. I was very moved by her efforts to kind of really pick herself back up. And so, yeah, I genuinely want to be able to meet her again or connect with her.
You explained it way better than me, than myself.
I love that though. It sounds like there was a real connection there. Maybe one last sharing that I wanted to pick up on. How about Ollie? I think you were in a room with Joe and I caught a little bit of the conversation. Would you like to share about, what stood out about that conversation?
I will share my camera is off, but it was great to hear, considering the fact that I just joined, and I made an amazing connection. So hearing the map, and she really shared a map beautifully that I cannot express more than if she's doing it. So I'm going to yield the mic to Joe.
Joe, would you like to show us the map that you created?
Methinks that Ollie is a very kind guy. It's hard to see. I've also got paper behind. I was a very chronological map of my life. And as Megan joined the room, I felt like this was a bit of a coaching session because it was going back to my childhood. So yeah, really interesting activity and very beautiful to share, especially as Ollie's was all in his mind and fairy tales and gorgeous. Yeah, thanks, Megan.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Ollie. And I really enjoyed like kind of hearing that moment. Ooh, sorry, I think I might have closed some tabs. One moment, I'm just gonna remove Spotlight. My browser crashed. It's all good. We're gonna roll with the technical issues, but let me start that up again. Well, what I would like to do is like just, I think firstly, really want to share my appreciation of everyone. I think, you know, doing a personal mapping exercise like that is not always the easiest necessarily, because it ties a lot, like Joe was mentioning, into kind of doing this interrogation of self, right? Like what's actually happening in our internal landscape? How does that, you know, really like connect from where we started from to where we are today as a journey. And this can be really tough to look back upon and make sense of, especially in the short span of 7 minutes. Why don't we, oh, I think I see some great suggestions in the chat about potentially holding up our maps and getting a sense of that from everyone. So maybe I can encourage everyone to switch on your videos and do that so we can see where everyone else is at with their terrains. Oh, this is so lovely. Shirin, are you able to help to take a screenshot with this?
Yep, sure. Okay, I'm gonna take a screenshot in 3.
Roselle, love that.
One.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
We got it.
Awesome, awesome. That looks incredible. And that's also given me enough time to actually screen share again. Yes. Yeah. So I think what's really lovely also is kind of seeing people's different interpretation and approach to this. And, you know, I wanted to also share a little bit about like why or how this ties into what I believe about learning and kind of education as a journey. So what I wanted to share maybe what our philosophy towards education looks like at New Campus, because I think the starting point of all of this is also kind of realizing that we're not necessarily always quite a typical learning organization. And these 3 pillars to me actually ties in to this idea of mapping and personal geographies. The first thing that we care a lot about, and that I care a lot about, is actually co-creation. Like, how do you make sense of the world together, not just as individuals, but with others? And I can really see from this exercise how we're kind of doing that, you know, collaborating with each other to make sense of like what feels like water, what feels like land, how do we navigate these things in life? A second thing that is also quite you know, important, and I think I can see it just exemplified from the fact that, you know, we're dialing in from different time zones, we're dialing in from different locations. It's really cultural intelligence. That's another key pillar of our curriculum at New Campus, and it's really about looking at the nuances of what it's like to be in different geographies and different cultural contexts and still being able to connect to each other. So shout out to Butter, great tool for virtual collaboration in that way. And it also helps us to kind of all feel like we're in the same room, sharing space with each other, even though we're not physically there. And I think thirdly, how this particular activity ties in, you know, with the work that we do is also actually community. So that's a very, very key part of you know, how we make sense of learning. Like, we believe learning is quite a social activity. So I'll share a bit about what it was like kind of implementing this slightly wacky activity with our learners for the first time. The first time that I actually tried this out, it was actually with a rather serious audience. So we run accelerator programs, and for one of them, we actually run it with a cohort of startup founders. So founders who found product market fit, looking into the next stage of growth. And these are typically individuals that are very time strapped, usually are in the sessions, they want to come in, learn about something important and impactful, get out, get back to like their day job of running a whole business and a team. And at first I wasn't quite sure how it would be received as an activity that seemed in some way a little bit more abstract or frivolous. But I wanted to share some artifacts from the sessions that we've run, as well as actually some reflections. So let me read out some to you. One of the founders said, I learned that everything and everyone has to start somewhere. The journey is never linear, and a balance in life is very important. Another founder said, I felt grounded after thinking about my life-changing moments and hearing other people share about theirs. Also, drawing was pretty therapeutic. I think a third thing that I noticed also from the feedback that we've gotten, and now we're already in cohort 8, so we've run this activity quite a few times. But another thing that we've also gotten from the feedback is, you know, the session highlights were about other people, not just themselves. So for some of the other sessions, highlights were often around specific frameworks and concepts. But in this particular case, a lot of people's highlights were actually the other people in the room itself who had shared specific stories that they had resonated with. And I wanted to share this as an activity that, you know, I think in your respective practices, feel free to adopt it. Mapping is a pretty powerful tool to think visually, but also to represent things that, you know, sometimes you might not necessarily have the words for. I wanted to end this session on a specific quote, and my key takeaway from this entire journey, trying to explore this as a tool, which is a quote from William James, that the deepest principle in human nature is actually the craving to be appreciated. And once we can actually fulfill that craving for others, we can help people build connections. At the end of the day, I think, you know, no matter where we are and what we do in life, all we truly want is to connect with others. And a way to be understood is to be loved by others, to be appreciated for who we are and our respective stories. So yeah, shout out, thanks, Shirin, for helping behind the scenes to coordinate. But I did want to end on that note, and also really wanted to appreciate everyone for spending time here with us today.
Okay, thank you everybody for your participation, and thank you Megan for such a cute little exercise. I think it was fun for everybody in the breakout rooms to get to know each other like that. It's a bit personal with the maps. And thanks for helping us connect. Everybody, before you leave, Megan's session today was part of our workshop festival, Scene and Scenes, and everything, all the activities we did were happening on Butter Scenes, our new product that we just launched. So in the chat, I am going to drop a couple of links there. First few links are how to connect with Megan. If you have any more, if you want to just connect on LinkedIn, or any more questions maybe about either workshops like this or new campus. And towards the end, there's also a session link for the next session in the festival. If you want to join that too, that's going to start in about 15 minutes. And if you are on Product Hunt, please support our product launch there. Butter Scenes has just launched today, and we would love your support there. It would mean a lot to us. Just a quick little bit of support over there would mean a lot to us. And yeah, thank you, Megan. Do you have any final words that you want to say to anyone else here?
All good. I really enjoyed the time today. Looking forward to meeting each other again in some virtual space or another.
Yeah. If anybody wants to unmute to tell Megan anything, or you can simply just write in the chat. But thank you so much, Megan, for leading us through our personal geographies and helping us create our maps today.
Thank
you. Keep shining.
Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. Ciao.
Signing.